Welcome. Thank you for joining. Sorry for the delay. Hey Shane, sorry for that delay there.
Oh, no worries. Let's see. Oops. All right. You see me? Hear me?
Yep,
Good.
yep. Sorry, it was the Instagram IT people had me glitching there for a few minutes. I had to go to the backup phone to get it launched. So thank you for joining me tonight. So how's your day going so far?
Good. Good. Yeah. Keep it busy.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. I sent you all over the place. So hopefully we get you some answers in a day or so. Uh,
Yeah.
so So tonight, I'm Michael Twyman. I'm a board certified cardiologist. I focus on heart attack and stroke prevention. My office is here in St. Louis, Missouri. And in the past year or so, I've been working with Shane's lovely wife, who we'll introduce in just a moment. But I really got interested in the biohacking scene in 2017 and really went down the deep rabbit hole of how to try to get to the root cause of chronic disease, as well as trying to live your most optimal life. And one of those things that the biohackers frequently will talk about is cold thermogenesis, or how to use cold therapy to improve your health. And I didn't know anybody better than Shane to kind of maybe explain some of his experiences with cold thermogenesis and how to kind of use mindset to be able to actually survive it. So Shane is a pretty amazing individual. He's now a newly MS3, so going into his third year of medical school at Rutgers University. He has two kids. One is just 1 month old, and he's got a toddler who's going on about 14 or so. He's married to a very expert muscle-centric medicine physician, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, who has taught me a lot about protein metabolism and optimizing people's health and longevity. But you can see over his shoulder the trident, the SEAL emblem. So Shane served the country as a Navy SEAL, and didn't think that was bad enough. Decided to go to med school and now wants to help people doing things a little bit differently. So that's my intro for Shane, and I'll let him kind of take it from there.
Yeah. So you want to discuss cold therapy? So, yeah. So some good techniques are. I think what I started doing originally was I would start out training in the bath at first, and I would do a lot of different types of long distance runs, different weightlifting, and it was really, really good for recovery and then the mental toughness aspect. So start with the bath, and I think it's good to ease your way into it instead of jumping full steam ahead, but you can do that too. So I started, first time out, all the way cold on the bath. Try that, and then you graduate to 1, 2, 3, 4 bags of ice, and at first it's really cold, but then you kind of go numb and you get used to it. When we went through training, we got there in December in California. And so the Pacific was around 50 degrees, water, and probably the weather was 40, windy, rained a lot, and we were in and out of the water a lot. and and there's definitely bits. I'm sure Dr. Twyman will go over that with you. And they found in a lot of people, you can increase the amount of brown fat that's in the body by training your body to go through this training. But it's definitely excellent for recovery, and I think that's probably some of the only reasons that I probably didn't fall apart in training. But yeah, so I think it's really important to try to turn your mind off when you're doing these things. We were in and out of the cold water a lot, and we had a hell week, which was 6 days of no sleep, continuous training. And it was in the winter time, and you just get a headache from putting your head in the water. And we were obviously in there more than less because of that. But yeah, I think one time we found ourselves singing Lady Gaga as a class of SEALs just to deliberately piss off all the SEAL instructors, and they told us to stop, but we didn't. And so, it kind of reminds me sometimes, I was in Afghanistan one time. We're on a mountain, and it's probably as crappy as it could be. And it's one of those situations where things are just so crappy, you just have to laugh. You just look at the humor and how ridiculous the situations are. And I think a lot of the situations have been similar. And I think mental toughness is something, I think a lot of people, they have opinions about how you get it and how you get there. But I think there's definitely a few core principles that apply. And, I think definitely starting out and working your way up is one way. And then really picking something that you really don't want to do, that you're uncomfortable doing. And so usually I think every time you take the harder road in life or the harder choice, it turns out to be worth it, and you find some value in that. And I think anything worth it is challenging. And I think picking things that you don't want to do, like getting up early, going to the gym, doing these things, doing an ice bath, cold shower in the morning to start your day off, these things, they suck, but you get used to it and you keep doing it and you build on your momentum, and eventually, you just start doing these things all the time. But yeah, I think once you get into the heat of the ice bath and cold water training, definitely you go full body in the Pacific if you're brave. But yeah, I think I into it. The thing you got to do is get out of your own head, and I think that's with anything, right? Not just this, but in life, people spin themselves up, and the anxiety about doing something or that event or that thing that's scary, the buildup itself is worse than the actual event. The buildup of me jumping out of a plane the first time I jumped out of a plane was worse than me jumping out of a plane, and I actually enjoyed it. But I definitely didn't want to jump out of a plane the first time I had to. And I think, you'll get in the water. It's going to be super cold. You're going to say, holy crap. But I think, you just got to really turn that off. And sometimes it's really good in those situations to go quiet and just breathe. And, even one time I think I was in Virginia Beach, and in the dead of winter, and we were new guys, and we had this long PT challenge right before we were about to graduate from our new guy phase. And all this PT for like an hour, and then we had to do this swim that was mixed in Virginia Beach, and I think it was January or February, which there was snow and ice on these boats. I remember I jumped in, and I couldn't even breathe. I think my body was completely paralyzed for a second. I lost my breath, everything. And just gotta put one foot in front of the other and keep going. But you get used to it. I think this stuff, it's not a big deal. It might seem intimidating at first, but it's really not a big deal. I think it's great. Definitely for recovery. If you're training, if you want to build mental toughness, if you're working out hard, it's excellent for that. Definitely for if you're beating up your joints and your muscles, lower body especially. But yeah, there's also a ton of health benefits. I think get quiet, turn off the voices, and just enjoy it. Breathe slowly, and plenty of people have done it before. You can do it too.
Yeah. Did you do a lot of training prior to going to SEAL? SEAL selection. Did you do cold submersion just to get ready for it, or was it just kind of a big surprise once you got there?
No, I trained for it. So I did a lot. I did this training program called Stu Smith's 12 Weeks to Buds, which is basic underwater SEAL training. And it's just a PT program, and it builds you up over 12 weeks to doing a ton of reps of everything, and a ton of long distance running and very long distance swimming, and you're just doing it constantly. And I was completely beating my body up, and I did a lot of ice baths for recovery. I also did it for mental toughness. So I was in an ice bath multiple times a week, and I would put in all the way cold on the water, and then I'd probably throw 2 to 4 bags of ice in there, 16 pounds a piece. And it's so cold, it sounds crazy, but it's so cold that you go numb. So after a certain while, it doesn't even matter. It's just so cold. it doesn't even get worse because it can't, because you can't feel it. All your blood flow just leaves. Yeah, and did a 3-day sleepless full immersion camp with Mark Devine over in California. He does the SEAL Fit stuff, and I don't think he's running the programs anymore. I know Bedros Keuilian's doing this thing called the Project, and that's a 3-day event, similar, but more designed for a lot of the same training, but more designed for tools for your everyday life. But yeah, I did this full 3-day immersion. I wanted to know what I was getting myself into. So I went and got my ass kicked and spent time in the Pacific and on the beach. And I surprisingly paid someone to beat me up for 3 days and keep me sleep deprived. Yeah.
So now you don't have to pay people. You got 2 kids that can do that for free, right?
Yeah, I don't know what's more miserable, having a newborn and a toddler screaming at the same time while I'm prepping for boards like this, bottles in each hand. Yeah.
So do you still have any time to do cold therapy right now?
Yeah. I like to do cold showers sometimes, especially after I run. So I like to get, I'll take this new supplement, Carboxy. It's like a charcoal binder type of thing. So I'll take that before I run. And I'll typically throw on a lecture because I don't have a lot of free time. So I try to, I'll watch a lecture while I'm running on the treadmill for, 20 to 40 minutes on average, sometimes an hour. And I'll shut the door, it gets super hot. And then I'll hop in a cold shower after that. And I think definitely after you're doing the sauna, sometimes after the sauna, I like to hit the cold shower, do the contrast, and definitely shocks the system. But I like it; it wakes you up. So I think it's great in the morning, especially if you work out in the mornings. It's excellent in the mornings. Just kind of really, I don't know if anyone else is like this, but I could keep drinking coffee all day, and I don't feel like I'm totally awake necessarily. And I feel like sometimes it wakes me up.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good wake up. The endorphins, adrenaline gets kick in, and then some people, really helps them get into deeper sleep. So yeah, it does suck doing it late at night, but after kind of the shock of the cold shower and start warming up, it's that kind of contrast of being warm and then cold actually help initiate the deeper sleep. So a lot of people will see their sleep scores improve on their Whoop band or their Oura ring if they do cold therapy in the evening time.
And I use the blue blockers. So
Good. That's important. So you're
although
talking earlier a little bit about,
what?
you're talking earlier about the conversion of white fat to brown fat. Have you ever actually kind of understood exactly what the brown fat's all that's doing? The difference of the white fat and the brown fat is that the brown fat is just chock full of mitochondria. And the mitochondria are those organelles in your cells that make energy for you. And so they're your little powerhouses that are taking that sugar and fat into them and burning it for energy, making ATP, water, carbon dioxide. But when you're turning that white fat into brown fat, your engines are much more metabolically active. And that, cold also somewhat acts as like a agent where your body's like a semiconductor. It makes energy go faster through that mitochondria. You have kind of these 5 respiratory proteins, and they pass the little electrons along. When you put it cold, in that region, those little respiratory proteins, they actually get closer together, and energy goes faster through them. So you are basically a carbon form of a semiconductor when you're exposing yourself to cold therapy. And I tell patients, where do you keep most of your food? You keep it in the refrigerator or the freezer. How do you preserve your meat? If you cool it down, you lower all these inflammatory markers, things don't wear out as much. And as you said, when you beat yourself to hell going through training, and athletes, who are, at high levels, they've been using ice baths for years. It's just now kind of getting into the kind of the mainstream that, yes, definitely helps with mental toughness, finishing with a cold shower. But yeah, if you can get into the ice baths, it's 24 times more conductive of that cold than doing a shower or doing, the cryotherapy chambers. And the cryotherapy chambers are kind of fun to play around with, but I honestly don't think there's that great long-term health benefit. It's mostly this immersion that's really beneficial.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I don't know how much I think the cryotherapy really does too much, especially in comparison.
I'm sure. I mean, it's endorphins, and you'll probably start seeing when you get into more of your surgical rotations. But ask the plastics guys. There's something called Coolsculpting. That's what they use to kind of spot weld fat on people who don't want necessarily to get abdominoplasties or tummy tucks. And so they use these steel plates and they super chill them and they just put them over the areas of the fat, and that causes the adipocytes to eventually apoptose and they die after they kind of shrink down. So they figured out how to use cold therapy, as a medical tool. In some of the cardiology practices for procedures, they can either use lasers or they can use cryo balloons, and they'll actually freeze the tissue. So, you can take a medical grade thing, and then you can do kind of the home version, the cold showers, the cold baths, and get similar benefits.
So, what do you think is the right dose for people to start doing for cold therapy? 2 times a week, 3 times a week?
More days
What do
a
you
week
think?
than not, once you kind of build it up. I mean, because you also have to kind of say, why are you doing it? If it's the mental toughness thing, you probably should be doing it every day. Just keep building that habit. But if you want kind of the quote health benefits, probably 2-3 times a week to start. I usually tell people, either start with kind of the cold shower, just because people have access to that, because most people aren't going to jump right into a cold bath until they kind of get their mind around it. But as you know, that there's a diver's reflex from this area to kind of your upper chest gets cold. That mammalian dive reflex. So some people have just kind of get like a sink and just fill it up with water, to maybe 55 degrees, so it's not freezing. It doesn't necessarily have ice chunks in it, and just hold their breath and put their face in it, and just hold your breath as long as you can, and then pull your face out. And then once you kind of get to the point where you can keep your face in that cold water for as long as you can hold your breath, then start transitioning into kind of the cold baths and stuff. Then your body's probably a little bit more ready.
Someone said, is there a right or wrong way about it where my body could go in shock? I live in Arizona, it goes into the 120s here.
Yeah, I mean, this is more for educational purposes, people. This is not strict medical advice tonight, but listen to your body. I mean, it's go slow, and if you're feeling dizzy, lightheaded, feel like you're gonna pass out, you got to get out, and if your hands are turning ice, blue and white, and you're absolutely extreme pain, you need to be stopping that stuff. You're not trying to get through budge training. You don't have to do this. So work on it, and you'll eventually get there. But some medical reasons people might not actually be able to tolerate that is, if their thyroid's underactive, they got a hypothyroid, they may not do well with this. Or I've also seen if people have extremely high levels of omega-6 oils and have very low levels of omega-3, they may not tolerate it as well either. It says, Shane, how long did you train to take ice baths, and how long did you stay in the ice?
Yeah, I just kind of jumped right into it. I did the all the way cold baths first, started adding a couple bags of ice, and I think 20 minutes. I think after a while, there's not as much of a return on benefit from just sitting there all day, and it doesn't get as cold after a while. But I think you'll know the right time. But you definitely more than 10 minutes. I think. I mean, I think there's if you're inside in a climate control area, if you're outside and you live in Montana, maybe guidelines change.
I think
if you cold bath
10, 20
affects.
Yeah, I mean, I had previously done this program, 75 hard, and in phase 3, I'd be doing these 5-minute cold showers. And most of the time, I would end up waiting to the end of the day to do it because I just didn't want to do it early in the morning. And I kind of said, well, fine, I just got to do it. And I'd take the cold shower, and then 10 minutes later, I was like dead unconscious. And then my sleep scores would always go up. So I do know, at least personally, it improves my deep sleep. You know, that's what biohacking is. You do the experiments to yourself, measure something, see if it got better. If it's better, you feel better, numbers look better, keep doing it. If it messes up your sleep, you know, switch it up to the morning time then.
What else? More.
Okay, good to know. All right. So other than kind of fast recovery and mental toughness, have you noticed any benefits for yourself?
I feel leaner when I do it. When I'm doing it more regularly, I feel my metabolism is more boosted. I'm burning more calories. I think just getting that metabolic engine roaring, definitely notice that. Definitely more lean when I'm doing it.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, you know, you turn that white fat into brown fat, and then, you know, it's not that you can't not eat bad food, but like your run so much faster. I mean, there's some famous, you know, stories of, you know, Michael Phelps training in cold waters, and he was eating like 10,000 calories a day. And the dude was completely ripped and lean because his metabolic engines, his engines could burn anything that he put in there.
Yeah, he would swim 5 miles a day.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. What else? What else? Yeah, I mean, I I think that for example, when we did Hell Week, I think the fact that we were in the cold water so much was the only reason we could do that so long, because point in case, at the end of it, maybe 5 days in or so, we went into a pool to kind of just, we were just completely beat and they were just keeping us moving at that point. We went to a pool to, you know, run around the pool and play games with us. And, you know, that was normal temperature, probably around in the 80s. And our legs and arms just blew up. I mean, they were so swollen after that. And I really think it's really taming down the inflammation from this constant grind on the body. And I think that's definitely great for people who really are training hard and regular as well. And also people who aren't, who maybe want to, you know, a little extra edge on the fat burning. Do you recommend taking a warm shower after the ice baths? How often can we use ice baths a week? You want to take this first?
So typically the recommendation is do the warm part first and then finish up with the cold. You know, the cold will then constrict the arteries and force the blood back into the core. And then that's where you're going to kind of process things through your liver, and that's going to help lower all those inflammatory markers. Now, but there's also something to be said about kind of doing the cycles where you can do, you know, like the Scandinavians, you know, they'll, you know, sit in a hot sauna, then they'll go out way in the snow, then they'll go back in the sauna, and you can do some cycles, but you probably should end with cold. But how many times you can do ice baths a week depends, you know, why you're doing it again. You know, if you have a chronic medical condition that you're trying to improve, you know, you got high CRP because you had an autoimmune condition, you know, then you're probably going to, you know, daily. You know, if you're just doing it for kind of, you know, athletic recovery, I would say one caveat with athletic recovery is you actually do want to have a little bit of inflammation after the injury of exercise. Let the body start recovering and do the ice or the cold therapy later, not immediately after the exercise routine. But you know, you could do this daily if you needed to, or a couple times a week, whatever really works your schedule. Question, is this a bad idea if somebody has acid reflux? No, probably not. You know, if you improve your mitochondrial function, your acid reflux actually probably gets better. Somebody asking about for fat loss. Again, probably not too soon after the workout, probably wait a couple hours after the workout to do it for that indication. See if I missed anything. I don't think so.
What else about cold therapy, Dr. Twyman?
Well, I mean, the quick and dirty benefits, helps with weight loss, lowers inflammation, improves sleep, potentially improve your immunity, so you're better to fight off infections. You know, it helps with the weight basically because it's affecting your leptin sensitivity. That's going to be accounted in your brain. That's looking at your nutrition balance. Helps with your parasympathetic tone, your rest and relaxation tone improves, your fight or flight response comes down. You activate some longevity genes doing this. And then you also just get adapted. Humans were not evolved to live at 72 degrees, 365. You would have been cold hot. And so when you get exposed to cold showers, cold baths, you're just able to tolerate things more. We talked earlier about, maybe just doing some face dunks, but if you're not ready to go jump right in the bath with the ice, just wear less and less clothes as the temperature starts changing in your area. Crazily, in St. Louis right now, it's like mid 60s, 70s, and it's going to snow tomorrow. I don't know why, but it's going to snow tomorrow, and then it's going to get warm again on Wednesday, Thursday. So I get to practice some cold thermogenesis tomorrow. So I just wear a t-shirt and just suck it up while it's cold, and then I'll be fine. So you can kind of do that too. Just wear a little less clothing and see how you tolerate it. But those are kind of the main benefits. I very much thank you for your time, Shane, to explain your story and your ways of using your mindset to train up, get through this, and actually use it to better yourself. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. And if you need anything, just shoot me a message. So thank you everybody for checking this out. We'll have this recorded. Again, apologize for the slight technical difficulties at the beginning, but if you need anything, just shoot one of us a direct message, and we'll make sure you guys get to your questions answered. So have a great evening, and we'll see you guys next week.